Welcome, boys and girls. Christine here with a discussion about some of the best American planes in Broken Arrow from my personal perspective. Starting with the humble EA6B Prowler. I wish we had the Growler, but unfortunately we only have the Prowler. This is a dedicated electronic warfare plane. And as a dedicated electronic warfare plane, it has HARM missiles. 4 of them to be specific. Now, there are other planes that do have HARM missiles, but the EA6B Prowler is actually the best plane for the job. In any kind of match against a competitive team or a good team, you're going to have a huge amount of air defenses. Now, you can't really rely on a Prowler to take them out. It's a bit more complicated than that. But it certainly helps even the scales. For a couple of reasons. Not just in the fact that it has 4 missiles, which is more than, I think, any other plane in the US arsenal, but also because it's cheap. It's one of the cheapest planes you can have access to. Sure, you do have the Harriers, but Harriers do have certain issues. I think Harriers are better used to deal with enemy helicopters, so there is certainly a value proposition in that respect. But the Prowler is there to hunt down air defenses. It's obviously not going to do a great job holding its own against anything else. It has that dedicated role. And let me tell you this. If you can eliminate air defenses, the opportunities that you open up in a match are enormous. And that's one of the primary reasons why I think the EA6B Prowler is so good. Imagine if 2 players on a team just go full in on Prowlers, get as many of these as they can, and then go hunting for air defenses. Even if those air defenses survive, they're going to reveal their positions, and that means you can take them out in other ways. So they're a nasty thing to be dealing with in a match. At number 4, we have the B-2 Spirit as a bomber. So you do have 3 bombers on the American side. Yes, you do have the F117, but you have 3 strategic bombers. The B-2 Spirit, the B-52, the B-1B. Well, let me argue the value proposition from the perspective of the B-2 Spirit. It's a stealth aircraft, so it's going to be difficult to shoot down. And then it has a lot of cruise missiles. Now, if we look at the B-1B Lancer, it can carry a good amount of cruise missiles, to be sure, but it does have certain vulnerabilities that the B-2 Spirit has, similar with the B-52. Can carry a lot of missiles, but also more vulnerable. And the value proposition from my view with the B-2 Spirit is, because of its stealth profile and its long-range cruise missiles, it can fire from such a distance that it's gonna be very difficult for an enemy team to take them down. And anyway, and you can just swarm their air defenses with these cruise missiles and really do a lot of damage to key concentration of enemy positions. So that's why I think the B-2 Spirit is such a great aircraft. And number 3, we have the F117. The F117 is obviously not a great bomber aircraft compared to the B-2 Spirit or even the B-52 or B-1B from a load carrying capacity. However, it is still a stealth aircraft and it still carries cruise missiles. Again, not as much capacity. Has its downsides because of that, but the value proposition here is that it's significantly cheaper than those other planes, and because of its smaller size, it's actually far less vulnerable to anything an opposing team might throw against it. Let me say it like this. If you summon a B-2 Spirit in a battle, you can get it shot down. It's not very likely, but it can happen. It is far less likely with the F117 that it might even be seen in the first place. And even if it is seen, here's another advantage with this thing. It is fast. Like, it is genuinely pretty damn fast in terms of its turn radius. We're not just talking about forward speed when we're talking about speed. We gotta consider the turn radius, because that is one of the ways you prevent your jets from being blown out of the sky. So basically, it's kind of a bomber with the benefits that you might have in a fighter. Yeah, it's a weird aircraft. I think it's always been a bit of a weird aircraft. Anyway, At number 2, we have the F15EX Eagle 2. And the reason this plane is so damn ridiculous is just the sheer amount of stuff that you can put on it. Let me go over the various options that you do have. You have some harm missiles, sure, that you do have in the center line point. You have cruise missiles, if you want to. You have air-to-air missiles. But from my view, the real power of the F-15EX is the sheer amount of air-to-air missiles that it can carry. To give you an idea, you can dominate the skies with just one of these, let alone the fact that it's not so ridiculously expensive that you can't afford 2 of these very early on in a match. And these will carry 16 AMRAAMs. Now, AMRAAMs are not the best air-to-air missiles, but 16 of these, and the way it works is that an F-15EX is going to fire these very, very quickly, one after another. That's been my experience. So when you're in a dogfight and you just see this thing firing 4 missiles one right after another, it's going to be difficult for enemy jets to survive that kind of situation. So you can deal with numbers, you can deal with quality. You're just going to be able to overwhelm any opponent that you're dealing with. While the F-15 obviously is an older jet, the capability that this thing has is ridiculous. This is how I personally customize it. Go empty with the center line, inner pylons, go fuel tank so you can maintain the plane over the battlefield, which is, by the way, another advantage, not that you have so many missiles, you can win an air fight and then just loiter around for a bit longer so that the enemy doesn't just spawn a bunch of transport planes or anything like that for a while. You can achieve, more or less, not air supremacy, but air superiority over significant sectors of the battlefield until, you start dealing with air defenses. And then, of course, at number 1, we have the F22 Raptor. Now, the Raptor doesn't have the same missile capability, though I think it would be nice to have like pylons, because in real life the F-22 does have the ability of carrying missiles on its wings, not just in the base. I think it would be great to sacrifice that kind of stealth capability for extra missiles, but the Raptor is just an amazing plane. It carries 4, or it can carry 4 of some of the best air-to-air missiles in the game. At least on the American side. It is certainly more expensive. It doesn't have the same number of missiles, so it does still have 2 AMRAAMs by default. You've got 4 JATMs, so that's 6 missiles, and you have 2 Sidewinders, so you do have a decent number of missiles available to you. I think the F-15 is better in terms of swarm capacity, but in terms of quality of missiles, and those missiles taking down enemy aircraft, very few planes in the game compare to what the F-22 Raptor is going to offer you. And that's the reason I'm putting it at number 1. So that's my perspective about some of the best American planes. You could consider other things as well, like obviously the B-1Bs could be considered here. I think there's some value with the Hornets here and there, but this is what I personally consider that stands out in the game. Costin, signing out.